Hello, I'm Shoestring Jane. Welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things thrifty and frugal and my frugal life. I also occasionally just mention things I do to make money. So today I'm going to look at things you can do to make money from home. So these could be either as part of a whole kind of full-time income that you do from home, as I do, or a side hustle to your regular job. So in an ideal world, if we were feeling the pinch, we didn't have enough money, we could ask our boss for a raise, we could get a better job, maybe we could do overtime. There are things that perhaps in the past we could have done that may not be possible for our particular job. I know when I worked full-time in an office, there were no options for overtime. It was a very strict structure of wages, so there was no possibility of negotiating a wage rise, and there were very few opportunities to progress. So I couldn't quit my job and get a better one because locally there wasn't very much that I was qualified for. I did actually look for quite a number of years. So it's not always possible, and I do appreciate that. And the way I made ends meet was to do extra things. So I had a variety of side hustles to supplement my income. When you've cut everything back and you're working to a tight budget, you've done everything you can do to save money, sometimes the only thing that you can do, or the only thing that's left, is to try to bring some extra income in. Maybe that's to save for a particular goal, or to pay off debt, or just to get by. That's the way it is for some of us. So I thought I would just bring a few ideas together. Either I've tried them myself or I have friends who have tried them. Things you can do from the comfort of your own home. So I should maybe begin by explaining where I am. So last time I filmed from in here, I had a few comments saying, "Are you filming in your attic? Where are you? In a garage?" This is actually my office, and it is also a kind of storeroom, because one of the things that I have done for many years to earn extra money is sell stuff online. So this is where I keep it, so it's out of the way. So you could start, my first suggestion, if you need to make extra money, would be to sell your old stuff. So start with your own things that you no longer want. There are many selling platforms online. There's eBay is the kind of main biggest ones, but there are others as well. So you could have a massive clear out, a big declutter, and sell stuff that just sits around gathering dust that nobody uses, that you don't need anymore, that somebody else might appreciate, and make a little bit of extra money. So this could be your old clothing, it could be bundles of your kids' clothing maybe, toys, furniture, books, bicycles. Have you got bicycles in the shed? Old tools, maybe old, I don't know, lawnmowers, things like that, gardening equipment. There are lots of things that you could sell to other people that they would appreciate. So if you have a lot of low value items, then probably the best way to sell and get rid of them would be something like either your own yard sale, or if your local area has a garage sale trail, you could take part of that. In that, you get a lot of people coming round. Or you could have a car boot sale if you're in the UK. I know they do these elsewhere, but in the UK is a big thing with Sunday car boot sales, sometimes Saturdays, sometimes midweek even. And you get a lot of professional sellers selling there, but you also get a lot of people who have had a massive clear out and just want to sell old crockery, or things that haven't got great value but are good bargains for other people. And you can have a clear out. Maybe you can make £50 or £100 doing that. It tends to cost about £10 or £12 for a pitch. So I would say start doing that. Higher value items though, you want to get a better price. You're not going to get that at a boot sale. You might then look at the bigger selling platforms such as eBay, as I mentioned already, or Vinted, Depop, wherever you could look. Facebook Marketplace is another one. Do some research on prices. Have a look and see what people have sold similar items for previously. So you're setting your prices realistically. You're not underpricing, but you're also not overpricing. So they just sit there and never get any offers on them. Write a really good description, a good title, particularly on eBay. People just look at the title, often don't even look at the description. So make it a really good description. I remember finding a really nice dress. Actually, it was a nice dress, but you couldn't tell it. The subject area was nice dress, and that was literally it. When I looked at it, it was a Caramellan dress, and there was the size in the listing, but you couldn't see that on the title, so that a lot of people wouldn't have bothered. You couldn't see it was Caramellan, you couldn't see the colour, you couldn't see the condition, you couldn't see what style of dress it was. So a lot of people wouldn't even have bothered looking at that. The photographs were also rubbish. So it's really important to take a decent photograph in decent light so that people can really see what they're buying. They're not going to see these things until they arrive. So, inspire a bit of confidence, show them good photographs, and do actually admit to any faults. Don't try and gloss them over, otherwise you might get a return. So admit if there's anything wrong with them. And calculate your postage costs correctly, because you don't want to sell something and think, well, hey, I've made a tenner off that, and then realise that you have only charged £1 postage, it's going to cost you a fiver. So those kind of things, it's just basic and it gets you into it. So if you do think at some point, well, perhaps I could make a bit more money out of this, as I did, I started selling my own stuff, then you might want to sell on a more professional basis. So for most of us, I think reselling second-hand items is an easy way in. Some people sell new items and you've got to find decent stock and have somewhere to store it. But if you get into selling, you could start your own little business. So you could buy items very cheaply at car boot sales or in charity shops. This is what I do and a lot of resellers do. You make them more widely available to the general public. You make sure they're clean, repaired, that kind of thing, and then you can sell them on at a profit. It's only really what people have done for years. It's only really, if you think about it, what antique dealers do. So some people get funny about it. They think, well, why should I can't buy from charity shops and sell on at a profit? Well, the charity have got the price that they asked for that item. You'd have to be lucky to go into a charity shop to get a very specific item, a specific size on something. So by putting them on eBay, why shouldn't you make a profit? You've gone to the trouble of writing a listing and taking nice photographs and that kind of thing, maybe ironing an item of clothing. Why should you not make a profit? You've made it available to somebody. I mean, I buy a lot of things on eBay. I sometimes find great deals in charity shops, but if I want a pair of walking boots in my size, I might not find those for years in charity shops, but I can find them directly on eBay or on other selling platforms. So bear in mind that if you do this, if you buy to sell, then you are a business. You have to register as a business and you have to pay tax on what you earn, and that will be the same, I should think, in any country. In the UK, you need to register as a sole trader on gov.uk, so you have to register for self-assessment. It's not as scary and complex as you think it is. So if you have a read on gov.uk, it will show you what you have to do. You do need to keep records then, you need to keep receipts and that kind of thing. And you have to register as a business seller if you're selling through eBay. So, and this applies really to any business, anything you do at home. So even if you're doing freelance writing or whatever you're doing, you do have to pay taxes on what you earn, on your earnings. So as a side hustle, just to give you an idea, whilst I was working full-time and doing eBay just as a side hustle, in a minor sort of way, I was making maybe an extra £200 a month, and that was really useful for me. But you could make a lot more than that if you're prepared to put in more hours and find more stock. You do have to have somewhere to store it. As you can see, it's taken up a whole little room in our house. But I know people that have stuck to, because they've got limited storage, very small items. So maybe items of costume jewellery. So you'd have to research that and see what sells, but you can often pick up bundles of costume jewellery in the charity shops for next to nothing, and then you sort through them and you can sell them. Maybe you make maybe you charge £10 an item, but you've paid, I don't know, 20p. So, it's worth it if you sell enough of those, especially coming up to Christmas. People will buy that kind of thing as gifts. So that is one way of making a bit of extra money from home, my first suggestion. My second suggestion would be to explore the website Fiverr. That's Fiverr. So Fiverr gives you an opportunity to sell your creative services. So it bills itself as the world's largest marketplace for online services. And it's really very broad. I mean, it did start as just kind of lots of graphic design, but it seems to have expanded into all sorts of services. So you could offer anything you do freelance really. So maybe website design, blog post writing, photography, graphic design, it's illustrations and artwork, your SEO skills. So if you know about computers and SEO, then you could offer those kind of skills. It does seem to be very broad. And as I say, all it's called Fiverr. Some people do sell their services for a Fiverr. And in fact, I got my Shoestring Cottage logo from somebody and they did that for a Fiverr. It must have taken them just a few minutes, and we did mess about with it ourselves afterwards, but the basic logo design cost us a Fiverr. Most people don't charge a Fiverr. You need to set your own rates and obviously make it worth the effort that you're putting in. But if you've got any kind of creative skills or anything that you think actually has a potential freelance market, then I would say have a look at Fiverr as a means of making extra money. My third suggestion would be to sell your arts and crafts. So if you are a creative and talented person and you can do things like painting, knitting, crochet, jewellery making, whatever you do, pottery, if you can do things like that, then there is a really good marketplace to sell your items on maybe Etsy. That's probably the best known platform. There's also one called Folksy, and there are others as well. So I know from just talking to people on my Facebook group, My Secondhand and Frugal Life, that people have so many skills, and if they wanted to use them to make some extra cash, they could do. People create the most fabulous things, crafts and things, and they just do it for gifts for people. They tend to, but if you wanted to make money from your hobby, then maybe you could sell your arts and crafts online. But what if you're not really creative? Can you do anything else online or from home? I would say for my fourth suggestion, website testing might be one worth exploring. I had a post on my blog on this, shoestringcottage.com, written by Simon from Pennies for the Piggy Bank, and he suggested website testing because it's something that he does to make extra money, and he says that you don't have to be a techie at all. In fact, quite the opposite. Companies want you to test their websites as your average consumer. So if they get their techie people or even their own staff who are so familiar with their websites and their services to test it, it's not a real test. Whereas if they get Joe Blogs to have a look at it, they can see how usable the websites are and find flaws, if they can't find what they want to find within the website. So it actually helps to be a very sort of average person. So Simon says you get paid an average of $10 for a 20-minute test. So you don't get hundreds of these jobs coming in, but if you just want to make, the extra $10 here and there, you could sign up to various companies and maybe you could make $50 over the course of a week. So I will put a link in my description below, so check that out and you can see Simon's post and get more information about how to make money from website testing. Number 5 on my list of ways to make extra cash is upcycling furniture in particular. So recently, as part of my second-hand year, I'm buying nothing new for the whole of 2021, I have got into upcycling. I've decorated 2 rooms this year, the hall and stairs area and our bedroom. And so because I'm not buying a new piece of furniture, I'm not in the market for something new, I'm using what we've already got. So I've got into upcycling, painting, replacing old knobs with interesting new knobs and that kind of thing, lining the shelves of units and those kind of things, just to really make them look nice. And I think they look great. I'm so pleased with what I've done. But whilst I've kind of been researching ideas and methods of how to do this, I have come across very talented people who do this for a living, and they turn really old, unwanted items into absolute works of art and sometimes make hundreds of pounds of profit. It is time consuming. You will need a space, so you have to have a garage or a shed area both to work in and to store the items that you're upcycling. So you do need that, but it's really, really easy to pick up cheap or sometimes even free pieces of solid old furniture that nobody wants, that would otherwise go to the tip, and you can turn them into unique and beautiful pieces. I came across one on my Instagram feed the other day. I follow a local artist called Hannah Buck, and she had an old piano, and a piano's impossible to get rid of. They have to go to the tip. Nobody has space for a large piano, or a few people have space for a large piano. They're difficult to move about. They're very heavy. Charity shops won't sell them. But she had upcycled it and painted it a multitude of colours. It looked absolutely fabulous. I'll insert a photo of it in a moment, and you can check her out on Instagram. I'll put the link to her Instagram address. So I just love the idea of old things being rescued and given a new lease of life. So that's a kind of really eco-friendly way to make extra money, and great if you're very arty. My next suggestion is dog boarding, or dog walking maybe. If you love animals, then it doesn't take a lot of skill. It takes a certain amount of empathy, and you need to be a trustworthy person to look after other people's animals, but particularly dogs. I'll focus on dog boarding. I had a guest post from Francesca from the Money Fox, who has done dog boarding over many years, and she really enjoys it as a way of making extra cash. So she takes dogs into her home while the owners are on holiday or maybe away for a long weekend. She looks after them, feeds them, keeps them company is the main thing, because you can't leave a dog home alone, takes them for walks and that kind of thing. You do have to have a licence from the local council to do this. So I'll put the link to Francesca's post below so you can learn a little bit more about how to do it. And Francesca says you can earn £20 to £50 a day, depending on the size and complexity of their needs of the dogs. But if you don't want to, or if you can't bring dogs into your home, maybe you've got allergies, or you've got very small children and you don't want strange dogs in the home, or maybe you're a tenant and your landlord wouldn't allow it, then how about dog walking? So you could go and collect people's dogs and just take them for a walk at various points during the day. A lot of people, particularly since lockdown has eased and they got their lockdown dogs, really don't have time to walk the puppies they got during lockdown, and are looking for dog walkers, so it's a good time to do it. Or you could offer services where you pop in and feed animals. So it might be popping in to feed cats. Sometimes people will go away for a weekend and leave cats, whereas they wouldn't leave dogs, but they do need them to be fed. So you could just pop in twice a day, make sure they're okay, change the litter tray, feed them, make sure they've got fresh water. Or you could do the same with small animals like rabbits and gerbils and hamsters who are left at home. So there are agencies you can do it through. You could just put notices up in your local area, but you could do it through an agency. You're more likely to get employment, and you get reviews on them as well. Francesca used Tailster, but there are others available as well. But as I say, I'll put the link to that blog post below so you can find out a little bit more if that's something that interests you. So I'll just shoot through my final 4 ideas because they're fairly self-explanatory really. Number 7, if you love ironing, offer an ironing service. I absolutely hate ironing. This would be my idea of hell. But I have friends who really love ironing. A great pile of ironing and a good film, that would actually not feel like work to them. So you could offer an ironing service. Number 8, you could do paid surveys. My daughter does this a lot. She did it a lot when she was a student. So it doesn't make you an awful lot of money. There are lots and lots of different places online where you can do paid surveys, and they do vary in what they pay you, and they're quite minimal. But if you're doing a lot of them, just while you're sitting watching telly, or when you're stuck in traffic, even though perhaps not that, but you can actually earn a little bit of extra money. I did used to use Prolific. That was the best paid one that I came across. But as I say, there's lots of information online. If you go to moneysavingexpert.com, they have quite a lot on paid surveys. I don't know why I can't say that. Paid surveys. Number 9, I have done this. I did this for a couple of years when my children were smaller, is childminding. Because you can do this on your own home, but it is a profession. I mean, this is a proper job. You're not doing this as a side hustle. It's something you have to take seriously. You don't earn a fortune from childminding, and you do need a lot of patience. But it has a certain amount of flexibility. So you have to be very professional. You have to register with Ofsted in the UK. I'm sure there are similar organisations in other countries. And it's a massive responsibility. You're taking care of other people's most precious possessions, their children. It's not a massive earner, as I say, but it's not bad. And I had kind of fellow friends, childminders, who did things like, one of them didn't want to work during the day, so she just offered before school and after school, and she used to have a whole load of kids in her house first thing. She'd feed them breakfast and then walk them all in a line up to school, and then she'd have her day free, and then she'd go and pick them all up after school and do a kind of after school club with loads of arts and crafts and things like that. And she earned quite a lot of money doing that. That was I think that was quite a good way to do it. But she was stuck to those times, but she had all day free. Or you could say, well, I'm just going to have smaller children. I don't want to do the school run, and I'll just have them within certain times and that kind of thing. But the more hours you offer, the more you'll earn. So if you do a slightly longer day, then you'll cater to those professionals who can't go back till maybe 7 o'clock. So that's worth considering, but as I say, that is a profession and not to be taken lightly. You have to get your house and your garden inspected as well as part of that, and there have to be no dangers or hazards, as you can imagine, really. My last suggestion, and one that we have really enjoyed doing over the years, is to take in foreign language students. We're quite lucky that we've got an actual college for foreign language students here. It did take a bit of a downturn over lockdown, as you would imagine, but they have survived and they are still there. And they bring in students from all over the world, and they need host families to look after them. And we did this for really a long time, for about 8 years. Using our spare room, or actually on one occasion when I had all of my daughters at home and I was short of cash, I put two of my daughters in one room and used the other room to host the student for a couple of weeks, and it was really good. You have to give them meals. You'll normally have to make them a packed lunch. They are expected to come and go under their own steam, so you shouldn't need to go and get them. I have had some younger end students where I have felt more comfortable about going to get them. I am sorry about the noise. I've got a silly dog here trying to eat my packaging. But it's a really good. I mean, you earn about. I mean, I think I got paid about £136 a week, but obviously you're feeding them as well for that, so it's not pure profit. But it was so interesting. We met people from all over the world. Some of them we're still in touch with, and we're still friends with. And it was just interesting to hear their stories and to see them develop and to help their language skills. We'd sit as a family at dinner time and help them discuss their day, and it really improved. In just a week, some of them improved their skills so much. So it was really quite rewarding, just on a personal basis, as well as being helpful extra money. So if you haven't got an actual school in your area, there are organisations still that require host families. So if you do an internet search, you can find various different places that will want to do those. So if I think about it, I will do a link to a post I did on this subject on my blog, so you can have a look and see what we do. So those are my 10 suggestions to make money from home. Some of them I've done, as I say, some of them I haven't tried, but I do know people that have tried them all. So it's just worth thinking out of the box, looking at your talents. What are you good at? What are your strengths and weaknesses? What could you do? How much time do you have? And what can you do to make a little bit of extra cash just from the comfort of your own home? So I'd love to hear what you do in the comments below. Please do let me know and share so other people can take those ideas as well. And if you liked this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. I'd love it if you subscribed. So if you did watch, do please subscribe. And if you turn on your notifications, you will know every time that I post something. So until next time, I'll see you. Bye.